Alright, we'll give this a go against Sultai. Froggy. Okay. Is it going to be Thoughtseize? Oh, it almost always is, isn't it? No? Okay. Fair enough. Save my soul. Save my sanity for one turn. Prismatic Vista. People be obsessed with this card. It just gets you a basic for one life. Puts it on the battlefield untapped, I guess. Yeah. Baleful Strix draws a card. Okay. I think we're likely gearing up for a board wipe. Just to get rid of a lot of the residual stuff. If they're just going to be playing lots of random stuff that draws them cards like this, I don't know. Nardu. What the hell? I'm literally in hell queue, aren't I? Whenever a creature you control becomes target of spell or ability, reveal the top card if it's a land card. Put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. Okay. How is this nerfed then? It looks the same. Spell or ability was just the same. Reveal the top card the same. If it's a land, put a battlefield the same. Otherwise, put it in your hand. Triggers twice per turn. Oh, it's not each creature. It's just, it happens for twice. It happens twice, full stop. Does this mean they have some kind of counter spell? No? I'm surprised that we actually got that out. We got 3 really great creatures, to be honest. Ristic Study. Okay, and then Mr. Land Drop. Wow. Can we actually beat a Sultai player deck? And again, they've got I've got held priority in their hand, so they probably have some kind of free counter spell, don't they? And now we've got Chandra. It's going to be interesting. We have 3 lands. Can we subdue the Sultai madness? And they've got 3 mana up. But they're not going to like the fact we can just play the Chandra here and it can't be countered. And we can also pay the 1 here. I like the fact that it obscures that text so it can't be countered. Maybe they won't read it and try and counter it. Or maybe they just mana drain it and get the 6 mana anyway and they don't care. Oh no, they're reading it. They've clicked the arrow. Nice. I've made that mistake before. I've tried to counter things I can't counter. But I'm pretty sure with mana drain you still get the mana. Even though you don't counter the spell itself. Okay, so here comes the damage every turn. That's quite nice. 1 isn't that threatening. 2 feels like it is. Two of these emblems is kind of freaky. Halfling. Okay. Well, let's up the ante.
Is it just me, or is it getting a little warm?
Right, let's see what counters they've got then. I will keep paying for Ristic Study. We're really putting the pressure on now because if they don't oh wow, they don't really care about that ramp. Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Okay. Looks like the only way we can beat a Sultai control deck is when they don't draw enough lands, but I'll take those victories where I can. It's a tough format. So far, though, looks like a pretty bog standard list. I mean, we can probably anticipate and expect the majority of the stuff. I think I have a big stake in saying this, that the reason I know so many decks is because people only use so few decks. And I feel like the decks I use have some cards that nobody ever seems to use. It's just kind of weird. But the other thing I don't understand here is that if I'm not using cards in the minority, then why am I facing other decks that seemingly have all the same cards? It's surely there'd be other decks like mine, wouldn't there, in theory? Okay, I'm going to keep playing them on. And there's literally no need for us to even cast Firesong and Sunspeaker here. So as you're here in the deck tech, you'll see that that's not always something that you need to do, just to apply the pressure. And also, it means your opponent, if they're very counter-savvy, or very counter-trigger-happy, I should say, they're going to be constantly wanting to wait to kill your commander. But if you never cast it, you're never going to give them that enjoyment of doing that. So you're kind of holding them at ransom by not playing your commander. It's very psychological. Seeing something in your command zone can actually be used in your advantage in that way. Hello and welcome to a very special episode. Today's episode was requested to me by R4 Feeks. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. They very kindly donated to me on Ko-fi.com. So thank you so much for the donation. It was an awesome treat to see. And they wanted me to do a Firesong and Sunspeaker deck, which I think is a fantastic pick because I haven't seen one of these in the queue for literal years. When this first came out, it was kind of awesome. I think it was a buy box promo. And it's been reprinted since, but honestly, you don't see it very often. I think the reason that R4 Feeks wanted me to make this because it is a difficult deck to build. Because once you get to 6 mana, you're hoping your commander can do something by that point, and it's difficult because then if it dies, it costs 8, 10, 12 mana, and then I can totally understand the difficulty of a commander of this size, and having recently made the Shelob commander deck, which was 6 mana for that, and when that died, that felt really sad as well. I do understand, so I've had to put my head into a different space when doing 1v1 decks with expensive commanders. You have to really lean into the deck rather than what your commander does, because you're not always going to have access to your commander, given that, you know, you're not going to play them until turn earliest, maybe turn 4 or 5, and then you have to think about stuff that you would want to synergize with it. So a lot of spells normally, or a lot of protection spells, or maybe even some equipment. But the deck isn't geared around that anymore. The deck is geared around the theme of the deck, which is more... I tried to make it hit the deck at a few angles, a few meme angles, actually. Firstly, I've noticed there's a lot of swarm-type decks recently with Heir Apparent, and a load of decks that just want to spam Mana Dork, Mana Elf, all sorts of stuff. It's always going to be a problem. So I think this particular build is going to be super effective. And what build is it? It's a board wipe tribal deck, essentially. But it's a special board wipe tribal deck in that a lot of the kill spells don't actually hurt a Firesong and Sunspeaker. Well, not enough to kill him anyway. So apart from the usual Day of Judgment, Wrath of God, Wrath of the Skies, we have a lot of X damage to each creature effect. Now, because he has 6 toughness, this is really quite wonderful for one of 2 reasons. Firstly, a spell like Hour of Devastation or the Burn Down the House do not kill him, as long as your opponent doesn't have any additional spells to kill him. But that's already a really good start. So the deck is absolutely littered with those. We've got Hour of Devastation, Burn Down the House, Storm's Wrath. We also have Deafening Clarion, Sweltering Suns, Slag Storm. Yeah, there's just a hell of a lot of X damage to each creature. So if you have Firesong and Sunspeaker out, you'll kill everything else, hopefully, but you'll also be gaining life because red instant and sorcery spells, you have control of lifelink. Now, if your opponent has 2 trillion Scoot Swarms out, and you have Firesong, and then play Hour of Devastation, you're pretty much going to win the game, because your opponent's not going to be able to finish you off when you have like quintillion life. So keep that in mind. There are synergies to be had with Firesong. It's just going to be quite late in the game for you to see them. But in the meanwhile, you have the board wipes anyway to hopefully keep you alive and long enough to see long enough to cast Firesong, because that's the issue, isn't it? But then you might ask, well, what happens if Planeswalkers enter the battlefield? Well, a lot of our removal also hits Planeswalkers, as the aforementioned Hour of Devastation, Burn Down the House, Storm's Wrath. I think we have, where is it? Not that one. Bloomin' hell, there's so many. Brotherhood's End hits walkers as well. Most of these removal spells hit creatures or walkers, most of them anyway. So you should be fairly fine, even though we are geared more towards an aggro, tiny creature strategy. So it's not very interesting in terms of creatures, sadly, because we only have 6, and they're the ones that you kind of expect to see. You know, Esper Sentinel, Ragavan, they're just a complete... You just have to add them in. The decks have those colours. We've got some Simulacrum. I tried to keep the ramp quite low as well, the physical rock ramp, and there's a reason for that. We only have Signet, Heart, and Power Stone, because I wanted to desperately include Hour of Revelation and Plano Cleansing, because as I said, People love spamming the shit out of the board, and I want to get rid of everything on the board just so we can have some breathing space to do stuff, because it's, I mean, I guess that's the way the meta works, right? The most effective decks do something which I call diversify threats. So you play X, but it gives you Y, and it gives you Z. So a good example of that would be you play a Planeswalker, and it gives you, I don't know, a 1/1, a 2/2, it gives you a card, gives you something else. Play something that gives you something else. Some Simulacrum is a built in 3-in-1s, things like this. And people just, that's all some people will play. Some decks will only ever be value, 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 value. And it's really tough. It's quite demoralizing, but the only way for us to stay on top of that is to just kill the shit out of everything we see over and over again. And it is a bit trolly and it is a bit memey, but that's just the way the meta is. Until Heir Apparent becomes yesterday's news, you're going to have to keep dealing with Heir Apparent. 2-mana things that keep making bloody rabbits. And I thought it was just going to be Delnier at Heir Apparent, but no, we're seeing Heir Apparent in 2-color decks, Heir Apparent in 3-color decks. It's really proliferating, which is ironic because Heir Apparent is a bunny rabbit, which, you know, has a lot of kids. But yeah, this is the deck, BOARDWIPE Tribal. Some of the funkiest new cards, I would say, right at the Dragon Caller. This is probably one of my favourite cards from Foundations. It's just very simple. Cast a spell, get a thing. Now, obviously, you'll get a 5/5, then it will die if you have a board wipe. But as I said, if you've got the smaller damaging spells, like 4, 3, 2 damage to each creature, then these dragons will also survive that. So I think that's pretty much all there is. So yeah, thank you so much again for basically sponsoring this video and being a really awesome supporter. Very kind R4 Feeks, and they sent me a really lovely message as well. I really appreciate that when it's not just it's not just a deck request, but it's just like just a nice message to say hi, how you doing? Thank you so much. Honestly, it was just a really touching message. So I appreciate that. If anyone else wants to get their own custom video, this deck I completely made from scratch for R4 Feeks, so I really hope you enjoy it. If you also would like that, please feel free to donate and look at my Patreon website below. You can get a video for becoming a patron or donating an amount which will be said in the curfew. So just take a look there. And yeah, this was really fun and it's different. I like tribal, but not just creature tribal. I like tribal X spells, so tribal sorcery, tribal instant, tribal board wipe, tribary. I'm not even saying real words anymore. Tribal planeswalkers, you get the picture. Tribal stuff that isn't just creatures is really great fun. And I think this can be a really cool commander, but caveat, it's expensive to cast. So if I don't cast it, I'm very sorry. Some people get very upset by that. But that's just the way it goes. You don't just cast a commander because you're making a video. You want to play as optimally as you can, given everyone makes mistakes, including me. I make a hell of a lot of mistakes, but I try my best to bring you entertaining, fun builds. So stay tuned. Let's see what happens. Not only has the queue been really powerful commanders tonight, but I've also seemingly gone second a lot as well. It's just insult to injury sometimes. Some nights that's how it be. We continue to push on. Scheming Symmetry, both put a card. Oh wow, that's not something. That is not something that I see very often. They must have some combo piece then. I don't know what I want then. I don't know. Esper Sentinel. Help me draw stuff. That's terrifying, isn't it? What's that card on top? Is that just a game-ending card they have? Probably. Chatterfang is up there. No blocks, please. If it dies, it gets treasures, yeah? If it dies? I guess we best make sure it doesn't dies then, right? If it doesn't dies, it exiles. Mate, I love seeing this in the first. That's freaking awesome. That's the kind of smile and laugh I have when I see stuff like that. It's just stuff that I just don't expect to see, but it's kind of cool. People are willing to take those risks. Okay. By the way, these Seville lands, great in mono and dual decks. Absolutely love them. Trying to put them in a lot of my mono and dual decks because just surveilling is great. Because currently, in a dual deck, dual color deck, you can only surveil once with one of the lands. The dual type tap surveil lands. But you've also got Conduit Pylons that does a surveil. And another one as well. They don't tap for a color, but still good. Chatterfang is combo-y as Fook. Bitter reunion. Okay. I think we'll discard the Sacred Fire, seeing as we can use that from the yard anyway. Rip apart. Oh, this is looking absolutely delightful. Get rid of their well, not combo, but that's a very powerful synergy piece there. Bastion of Remembrance with a lovely new enchantment border, which I'm a huge fan of. It's not every day that Wizards makes a change that people like, but I like visual improvements. I think the Nyx enchantment border is quite delightful. And the land. Beautiful. I guess we can go for the ECD now on the Ayara. I feel like that's a decent move. But she also is basically another version of Bastion, but the inverse. And if they kill the Sentinel, we can also return it here. And then next turn, if we get a land, we might actually play that as well. Just because we can then play the Firesong, and then if he dies, we can return him. And I think that's exactly what we're going to do. So I hope they don't have a way to exile him, because that would be quite annoying. But yeah, I feel like the ECD is the perfect synergy of removal, taxation, and revival. It's just so much in 5 mana. It's so much. It's just absurd. Gixxian Infiltrator. Whenever you sack another permanent counter, this can be a win con in itself. But they currently don't really have an outlet for it yet, but it doesn't take too long. Fanatical Offering. Okay, what does this do? So we draw a card from that. Wow, nice. Additional cost to cast a spell. Sack an artifact or creature. Draw two. Okay, cool. So now I think we just do the silly things, right? I have a feeling they are legit just going to quit once we... Oh my goodness, and that as well. I think we're going to keep that as well. Okay. So that's 3 damage, we gain 3. And let's get the 6 mana spell out of the way as well. Bloomin' Brutal, this is. That's so powerful. So we dealt... So with this, we dealt 2, then gain 2. But then when we dealt the 2, we gain the 2 life. But then when we gained 2, we dealt 3. Oh, that really hurts my head. That really, really hurts my head. So any effect that does life and damage is going to deal 2 triggers with this. That's crazy. Okay, and this is why Ben and the House is so insane, because Firesong and Sunspeaker is going to survive, and we're going to gain a ridiculous amount of life here. So much removal. Do we just go for this now, or go for the Devlin Clan? We lose a Sentinel, though. Let's just attack first. Do they block? Nope. They're down to 9, though. You know what? I'm just going to pass. They've only got 4 mana. And also we have the Lightning Helix in case something goes horribly wrong. And yeah, by the way, yeah, there it is. Hidden Grotto, that's the other Surveil land. Hidden Grotto and Conduit Pylons. Unlock them. Full arts, because they're so... they're quite beautiful, actually, for common lands. Really, really are. I mean, these are common lands, technically, but yeah, these Surveil lands, I just really like them. It just gives you 1 extra chance of getting a good card or getting rid of a bad card, right? Okay, here's Chatterfang. So we're going to take the 2. I can't wait to see this. I can't wait to see this. So we're going to do Helix here. So 3 damage and then gain 3, which gives us 2 triggers. That does another 3. And then another 3. So that seems pretty OP, right? That seems pretty OP. So for some insane reason, Firesong's in Hell Queue. don't really understand that at all. I'll try my best to deliver you the gameplay that you've come here to find. Yes, Golos, Helku, I don't really understand why this is. So this could be one of those videos where I'm just perplexed. Just perplexed. Golos, bloody hell. This is depressing. Not faced him for a while, and I didn't build this particular deck to be in that region of power, so who knows? Who knows? I mean, we don't even know what's at the bottom of the ocean, let alone how the algorithm works. I know there's water at the bottom of the ocean and weird, creepy, crawly fish beasts from hell, and obviously kaiju from another dimension. But I think we actually, to be honest, we probably know more about that than we do about why Golos is currently facing me right now. It's just a strange phenomenon, really. Let's go for visions. That's pretty good that that's resolved, to be honest. Lets us draw, you know, extra cards as such. That's pretty good. At the beginning of end step, if you didn't play a card from Exile this turn and create a power stone, that's nice. It's pretty cool. Until we go for a permanent that says destroy all non-permanents, then we're screwed. Awesome artwork as well. Urza and Mishra having a you know, a disagreement there. Illustrated by the wonderful Dominic Mayer. Dominic Mayer's got some incredible piece of art. Check him out if you haven't. He does abstraction really well. Abstract artworks. And he's just lovely. I think part of the joy of Magic is the abstraction, right? Because you look at a lot of the other card games, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, very literal artworks. Because, in a way, they have to be, because Pokemon are literal beasts in the game. But even their non-creature cards, like trainer cards or potion-y things, even those are very literal as well. So I'm scared because our opponent has 6 lands already, and 7 is where game-ending cards come from. So let's see how we get on here. If they get Emergent Ultimatum, they just win. So I'm just trying to take it easy. I'm trying to take a deep breath. It's fine. Oh, there we are. There's one thing like knowing the game, and then there's another thing kind of experiencing the knowledge firsthand. And both of those outcomes are horrifyingly painful. So we can't give them... no, we can give them that, because otherwise they win the game instantly. Because Vorinclex plus Liliana is the -9 ultimate as soon as it comes in. So I guess we'll get rid of the Liliana. Well, no, we get rid of the Vorinclex. Oh, but then Vorinclex is a single threat. Yeah, okay. The other thing about... I know Magic a lot. Me saying Emergent Ultimatum is a game-ending card is something like... It's in the back of my head. It's like, oh, I really hope that doesn't happen. And it's like... It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. But you don't expect it to literally be the next card they play. It's just one of the things that I say, oh, I hope it isn't. And then when it is, it's like... It's almost like... It's like spotlight theory. It's like I feel cursed. You know, I feel like I'm literally cursed. So we can deal 5... This deals 5. Deals 4. Okay. Let's do that then. Oh, we got a bloody Pact of Negation or something as well. Really? If they've got a Pact of Negation, or Force of, I don't know, one of the 3 counter spells. There's so many now. It's gonna be one of those. It's gonna be one of those games, guys, where I've got a bad feeling about today's videos. I feel like we're going to, for some reason, keep facing Hellq, and I don't know why, because our deck is just lots of uncommon removal spells and a few wipes. It's just strange. So where is their priority here? Now, they've got no mana. They can't use maps, and they can't do anything with the Vorinclex. So it has, if there is priority, it must be a 0 mana spell in the hand. That's all I can think of currently. They can currently see everything else in our hand as well. So maybe they're thinking about stopping something later. Oh, they have another cultivation. I mean, sure. Elish Norn. Right, okay. Elish Norn now. 4 and 5. We're basically using 2 spells. A turn on one of theirs a turn. That really sucks, because they've got such high toughness. So, you know, they've basically got 2 for 1 from us twice now. And we don't have a way to stop Golos. So I still think this is a fun deck. It's a fun deck. You just need to have fun opponents. And that's not something that I can fabricate easily. I'm going to stop it right there as well, because a lot of people say, why don't you play your audience? And why don't you play people on Discord? That is a fantasy for me, because when I'm recording these videos, it's not as linear as you think. I'll explain why. Firstly, I'm in the UK, and 90% of my viewers are not in the UK. I would actually say 95% of my viewers are not in the UK. Where's my brother? Where are my brothers at? Where's my UK brothers at? Where's my Thai brothers at, by the way? Because I'm half English, half Thai. A lot of you probably didn't know that. But also, it's really hard to do that. Also, it's really hard to organise. It's hard to organise things when you don't have kids and a wife and a family. When you do, it's nightmarish. My kid's currently sleeping in the other room. If he wakes up at any point, I will have to go and attend. So that's already a big no. Then you also have just so many other factors. You know, time constraints, setting up somewhere to chat and talk, having perfect internet at all times, playing similar level power decks, not trying to upset my friend or someone I know with a powerful deck, you know, because there is that also degree, like, it can be cool to just face one of your friends or viewers or something, but then it kind of makes you feel like I don't want to use a powerful deck against those people because I like them, or I'm close to them, so that's very tough. And they're just going to play Golos into an Atraxa. I'm just going to quit there, guys. Now, this hand is incredibly risky, but there's a few reasons I'm keeping this. Firstly, just a quick comment for that. There's a lot of Omnath decks lately. I don't know what's happened. There's been a huge spike no matter what commander I use. There's always some kind of Omnath. Anyway, the reason this hand is great is mainly because we have Hour of Revelation. And I know this looks impossible to cast, and you would be right in normal circumstances. But we have a Bitter Reunion to chuck a card away to draw 2. But we also have Koth to give us more mountains, which is really nice. And we also have 2 kill spells for early elves. So I'm thinking could be pretty good. We also just got a white source, so I think we might be okay. What should I get rid of? Both of these deal 3 damage to creature or planeswalker. Do I get rid of those, or do I get rid of Hour? I think we're going to keep the Hour, because this is what's going to help us stay in the long game. We'll get rid of this. Yeah, we'll get rid of the Strangle. Nice, and there we are. So a risky hand can sometimes deceptively be a good hand. So keep that in mind. Now, there's no reason really to use Bitter Reunion over other cards that do the same effect, apart from 2 caveats. You might not realise this. This card sets a new precedent for loot effects or rummage effects. Normally, when you cast an ability like this, spell like this, it makes you discard as part of the cost. But this discards as part of entry, which means you don't have to risk discarding cards to something that will then counter it. And then you won't lose the card. And also, this can give something haste, which is really nice. Also, they're just not playing stuff, which is so irritating. Because it means they could have a potential counter spell. Brainstorm. What on earth Omnath build is this? The Omnath builds I normally see, well, you'd anticipate seeing are the ones that care about elementals and have a few mana dorks and stuff, but this suspiciously feels more like some kind of control-y Omnath build, which is pretty annoying. Permission is always the least fun deck to face, I think. Oh god, and there's a Cyclonic Rift. I mean, there we are. And they're really quickly filling that graveyard, which is going to be bloody tough to... It's going to be tough to beat this, especially if we have much chance to use the Hour of Revelation, but... Provisioner. Okay. That's 5. And they've got 2 mana up. Are they going to counter... Let's just see if they have a counter for this, because people tend to like their tile as provisioners. That's interesting. They didn't like it that much, did they? Okay, Impulse. That scared the hell out of me. Why did they... Clearly they don't care too much about having extra mana, which is interesting, because you would have thought they would have saved that mana to maybe stop something. But an Impulse doesn't really do that. Sadly, the Search for Scanter will now flip. And that's always a very, very tricky thing to deal with. They're looking at our lands. Hopefully it's not a land destruction spell. Time Warp. Right, okay. Time Warp with nothing on the field doesn't really bother me too much. Omnath. Sure. We can actually still kill that. Although if it goes to 4/4 now. Let's see. Can we kill it with this? Do they have a protection spell? They've got a bloody mana drain, haven't they? They've got a mana drain. Okay. Annoyingly, we can still deal 4 damage to it here.
I'll melt you to slag.
Okay, well, the sad part is the mana drain is going to give them the right amount of mana to recast it here. Well, they already had 6 anyway, didn't they? So yeah, they would have been able to cast it anyway. Hour of Devastation. Wow, they were more keen on killing that
We'll never stop fighting.
than playing their commander. Oh my goodness, skip to the worlds. Extra turn. So this is just an absolute cop-out deck. This is... The cards in this deck belie the commander. There's nothing in here that really cares about elementals. It's literally just a card draw engine. Definitely the least fun type of theme deck to play. And this is definitely the thing that breaks my heart the most. Is when we see something that looks like it's a cool build around, when actually it's just an excuse to play the same 99 in every other of their decks. And part of me, I don't like being mean and saying horrible things about people's decks, but it just gets to a point where it's so tiring when I'm trying to make different style of deck. But yeah, appears most people just have one deck in mind. Ragavan as well. Okay, so they're going to steal our cards as well. We could maybe Mesa and Surveil something bad to the top, which is probably what we are going to do. Surveil 1. Whoa, we definitely don't want to put that on the top. That's going to absolutely murder us. But then they could just get something better, so who knows? Let's see. They get a land. Okay, that was lucky. And they go for the Omnath. But yeah, do you know what? It wouldn't even be that bad if it wasn't for this Ascanter, because that is such a powerful way for control decks to just continuously win. Okay, I suppose we can just keep trying to kill their commander and see what happens there. I don't think we're going to be able to race a deck that can draw 2 cards a turn. Thragtusk. This is taking me back. Oh my goodness. Thragtusk. This is like just like the epitome of random value. And they have a counter spell in hand that they can counter us. We pay 3, but we do have 3 up. Do they get another counter spell for 3 mana though? If they do, I think there's a high chance we just concede here. Titania's command. And they're going to counter it unless we pay 3. Okay. Right. That felt strange. Surely they would save that to maybe draw a card or something. 5-3 into a 4-6. What am I missing here, guys? I'm just going to take that. If they had some kind of pump spell or damage effect. River's Rebuke. Oh? So what if we had blocked that then? So basically we could have just blocked... And that's a sorcery. I'm really quite confused here. They're playing their deck a bit strangely as well. Very strange, yeah. I mean, they River's Rebuke... They attacked into me with the Thragtusk. And then they used... River's Rebuke. It was just a bit peculiar. So now they're going to attack again. Okay. I'm still confused with that attack. Why did they want to just kill that Thragtusk? Is that weird? Given the hand doesn't really... Okay. Disallow. So just bog standard kind of search for 2 land cards, put them in the battlefield, create 2 things, right? My mind is starting to flip back and forth with this deck. I'm thinking the deck is powerful, but the pilot isn't so much. Right, let's see if they counter this. If they do, they're just super trigger happy. Oh, they let that one slide. Okay, fair enough. Oh, we've got some nice things. I'm just going to sit back. End the turn. We just block these for now. Growth Spiral. I might just kill this in response here. Get rid of the Flying Assault. We gain some. We get some triggers as well. 3 damage to target creature or player. Well, just get rid of that, I suppose. Yeah. Do a bit to them. Wow. Some nice triggers there. So any spell that gains and deals damage combined with this is pretty crazy. Oh, they're going to put a spell on top. They're going to put Mana Drain on top. Interesting. So they're going to try and protect the Omnath, I guess. One damage to us. So they've got 2 counter spells in hand. This is very, very rough. Well, I guess we'll try and stop this. Well, they've got counters. That's 100%. Okay, so they've used their first counter. We've got another counter left. Bloody hell. So many things. So many fetch land as well. I feel like I probably should have just used the Brotherhood's End last turn, shouldn't I? That was probably quite silly. But then they probably would have countered that, wouldn't they? But then they wouldn't have had a counter now. Yeah. Unwanted remake. Okay. Let's see if they counter this. Okay. Do they have counter for this? No. Okay. So we've made them use all their counters. And they get a mystery creature on top. again, because they have the search for a scanter, it's just impossible here because we one card a turn can't beat 2 a turn. It's just impossible. But it isn't just 2 a turn, is it? It's because they've got the shocks and fetches. So is it charm? So that's faithless looting mode. Draw 2, discard 2. Okay. You got to think, like, when somebody has to draw 50,000 cards to beat you, like, what is in their deck? Is it, if your deck is just counters and draw spells but no actual win cons, like, you know what I mean? It's just do I continue? They've got no more basics left in their deck, so they had to fail to find out with the solemn. That's kind of crazy. I think we just attack. How can they have no more basics? Really? So they've only got 1, 2, okay. Okay, Minsk and Boo. I think that's it now. Yeah, that's a win con.
We're off on another thrilling adventure. Bigger is always better.
It's a shame because we had a pretty good, like, early-ish to mid, but then, yeah, they drew about 50,000 cards with Omnath, and there we go. So, sadly, we can't win this one because we just top-decked yet another land. But, yeah, this deck is just... These kind of decks just make me wish for a ranked queue. I tend to get less angry now and just sound disappointed like this because... if there was a ranked queue, I've talked about this publicly before, if there was a ranked queue, it would at least give the sweaty people and the people that want to use decks like this a place to play it. But every time I say that, there's always like this, oh, blah, blah, blah. There's always some weird resistance to it. There's always a resistance to that notion. But I'm not saying get rid of any other queue. I'm saying add a queue. You know, I think adding a queue would benefit the game in many ways. Because at least you could have a place for people to get that outlet, you know, get that out of their system, play the ranked, do well, give them a pat on the head. Well done, you're good at Magic because you copied someone else's deck list, and I know that because this is literally a list I've seen before. And I get the irony. I make deck lists for people to follow, but I don't want to just do the things everyone else is seeing. Especially Omnath is such kind of like a ubiquitous teamer commander. There's other cards out there, but it's all you seem to see. Yeah, so long and short of it is it's just a bit old to face the same cards. I think that's basically what I'm saying. So yeah, I don't know. Think of that what you will. I still think this deck was really fun. I mean, it's all removal spells, yeah, fair enough. But maybe we don't have enough end game spells ourselves. It just feels like when you're white red and you're matched against green blue, a drawy deck that outdraws you constantly, there's always going to be an inherent mismatch. So yeah, it's one of those tough things about Magic, that it will always be inherent to Magic that there's always going to be a steamroll effect. Someone's always going to do better than the other person. But how do we fix that? I honestly don't know. That's a different problem entirely. Did you know that you can help my channel by watching another one of my videos? Go ahead, you know you want to.